Okay, I'm here with Eric Standop at the Talise Spa at Madinat Jumeirah. Eric here is going to give me a face reading consultation shortly, but I thought we'd find out a little bit more about it first. Eric, tell me what is face reading? Explain it to people that might not have heard of it before.
Face reading is a technique, an art, a science, well, depending from where you're from. It is like a language. You study vocabulary in the face of someone to find more about him or her. And depending on what the client or the person wants to know, well, then you read more swellings or dots or wrinkles or lines or discoloration. And then you can give advice in terms of health, love, career, job, personality, character, talents, all kinds of. There was a time when people didn't speak. They didn't have a language to talk to, so the only way to make a conversation was by looking in each other's face. And we were quite good at that, while the kids are still good at that, babies especially. Yeah. And nowadays we just use it when we're in a foreign country and we don't speak the language. So we try to find out by the mimic, by the micro-expressions, what's going on inside this person. Yeah.
So it's an ancient science in a way, then it stretches back many times. Is there different techniques around the world that different sort of nationalities, different cultures have used?
Yeah, there are different techniques, although if they come to a point, it's always the same. But the different cultures are interested in different things. Like when I learned face reading in South America, they were not interested in health. You cannot find a really good face reader in terms of health in South America, but they know a lot about love, relationship, sexuality, stuff like that. Extremely interested in. While in China, they're interested in the health, but as well in things like job and career and health, because the Chinese medicine uses face reading as well as a tool. While Europe is a lot about health and nutrition, and the Americans is a lot more about micro-expressions, getting to know the emotional state of someone. Is he lying or not? Yeah.
And tell me about your typical consultation. Is there a set time frame, for example, certain things that you look for?
Yeah. For myself, I set up a time frame from 60 to 80 minutes, because otherwise I get exhausted if I do 5-6 readings a day. And even for the client, it's not good to have an overflow of information. Usually you could read 6 hours, it's not a problem, because the face is a book with 600 pages. And so I usually ask, what kind of chapter do you want to know? And then I open this. In exhibitions, for example, I do speed readings. That takes 2 minutes. It's just like someone standing in front of me, tell me something about me, and then I'll just take a look and look at 2 or 3 traits, and then I say something about that. Oh, by the way, I just brought this with me. It's a $500 bill from Hong Kong. So this is around $60 US. On the back side of the bill is a face reading map and a face. I just want to show how important face reading is in the Chinese world. They even put it on the banknotes. Yeah.
How very interesting.
Let's take a look.
It sounds like it's something that you can do, if you can do the express reading, something you might be able to do sitting on a train. You could perhaps sort of look inside of somebody. Is it something that you practice? It must be quite tempting.
Well, you cannot read his thoughts or her thoughts, definitely not, but the emotional state. And yes, when you learn it at the beginning, you really do it. I mean, it's like you have a driver license, you want to ride a car. But after a year, you calm down, because otherwise you get crazy. It's like, oh, this book, this book, this book. Just imagine you would always open a book and read and read. So I only do when I'm bored, which is not very often the case, or when the client wants me to read. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. It's after 10 years, you try to be good with your energies.
Okay. And how do you think it can help people? If someone comes to you for an hour, what benefit do they get from that, apart from perhaps a greater understanding of themselves? How can they use that moving forward?
3 examples. For the first, here's a student, a female, she's 20, she doesn't know what to do in her late 20s, 30s, 40s. She has a few talents, she thinks, or very often they think they have no talent, which is not true. And then I read the face and find out about the talents, and then we have a talk about it, and after they usually find out what to do next. Or you fell in love with someone, but you're not sure, and they bring a picture. They ask, do I fit with him or her? Well, things like that can happen. So it's more of an advice. Then in terms of health, some people feel a pain. A lot of people say, I have pain in my belly. Well, the belly is big. Where? So, well, then you can run from one doctor to the next one to find out. Or you can first take a look in the face, which part of your face is connected via nerves with your organs, and then because of this knowledge, you know, there's a swelling here, there's a swelling there, so it must be, well, the thyroid, for example, or it's the intestine, or it's the gallbladder, whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can shortcut, and you can leave the client with an advice to go to this doctor or do this therapy.
Interesting.
Why face reading itself is not a therapy.
Sure. Okay. Interesting. Well, let's get cracking.
There are 15 different symbols. Your symbol would be the tree, so you have a tree face,
okay.
I could say. What does that mean? Well, tree faces are people who take care about people. They're very helpful. Tree faces grow up all their lives like a tree. That means in a material way, but as well they learn all their lives. They're always interested till the very end. Tree faces they don't like to be like other trees, so they are very individuals. And very interesting is what kind of tree are you? Chinese would say you are a bamboo. Bamboo get rooted and then they start growing very quick. So they're not like fast growers immediately. They start collecting, and then they grow up very, very quickly. The element in your face is a mix. Usually most of the traits of your face are related to water. So the mouth, for example, your mouth is water, your eyes are water, even your pillar of power, what Chinese say, is of water. But we can see that you have a lot of fire in your face as well. So that means you heat up the water. So for people like that, a Chinese doctor would encourage them not to do that, because those are people who can easily get burned out. Or just overdo.
Is it a temperament thing as well, perhaps?
It's a temperament thing, exactly. So they are kind of balanced, because water is something that wants to flow, wants to get somewhere, wants to reach the point, wants to grab people and bring them to somewhere. And fire is doing the same thing, but fire is not as patient. Fire is more passionate, but you're more water. So they would suggest, hey, more slow. Do not 10 things at once, because if you do 10 things at once, you fall into laziness or you're exhausted, and then you start again. So you're more like, but you should be more like this.
Okay.
So this is your element. Very down-earthed, very ambitious. You're definitely someone who fights for what he believes in. I can see cleverness. And courage, but the courage is a traveler. So sometimes here, sometimes not. That's kind of funny thing. Judgment, a good judgment. Face is telling us not to be stubborn here and there, because you tend to be so.
I disagree with that.
You're a very calm and friendly person, except someone tramples on you, then you can change immediately. Very interesting. A traditionalist, a deep thinker. You don't like pressure, all kind of. Very artistic, humanitarian, very helpful. Easily get bored. Small brown spots on the nose, like mine.
Yeah.
Shows abuse of acidity. Acidity in things, for example, like sweets or caffeine or stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe.
And it shows that this guy needs a lot of energy. Why? Well, that's quite easy, because you're water, but you live fire.
Yeah.
So you need more energy than your body usually needs
To get you to that
point.
Peak performance.
Exactly.
Okay.
One mineral missing is iron.
Okay.
So if you have problems in getting up in the morning, or if you feel weak here and there, or exhausted, it's iron you miss.
Okay. And you've discovered that. How is that a coloration?
Exactly. I looked on the coloration of your ears,
Okay.
And I looked a little bit on the coloration of the inside of the eyes here, this part.
Right.
And because of the coloration here and there, I found out, yeah, it's iron you're missing. So what can you do? Well, you could eat more fish or broccoli or stuff like that, or you can use it as a supplement. As well, magnesium is missing.
Right.
But that's very typical for people who live fire, because magnesium is the mineral of the sports people. They have the magnesium drinks.
Yeah, yeah.
And magnesium is the one when people get exhausted and they have muscle problems or eyelid jumps or crave for sugar, sweets, stuff like that. Then your body's telling you, I need energy. The translation is, I need magnesium.
Yeah, okay.
So the more you need magnesium, the less you need stuff like that.
So with the fact that I haven't been very active in the last month or so, not much sport would suggest...
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an acute reaction on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Over the months, very often the body repairs itself by food and whatever you give them, relaxation as well. But sometimes we overdo because we just go on like that, and then we have the problem we talk about.